Okay. So let me bring up my list, make sure I have everybody I need in front of me as well. Appreciate you all taking time to be here this evening. Running for office is a thing, isn't it? It's takes up a lot of time, and it should. You're running for some really important positions. We forget how critical our special districts are in our community, especially in small communities. They play a really major role. So appreciate you all taking the time to run for office and to share with us, your thoughts and perspectives on the positions and the districts that you're potentially going to be running. And I did misspeak. I apologize. Nestucca, I was just in my flow. Nestucca is not here tonight. There were no contested races. So we have Nestucca Valley and Tillamook School District that we'll start with. So we'll bring up folks from the Nestucca Valley School District race. We'll start with them. And we have, let's see, looks like 4 positions that are up for election this year, and 3 of them are contested. So I believe I will have to invite you to unmute. Let me get that going for you. And while we're doing that, Susan, I see you just went off screen. Would you like to say anything about AAUW?
I'm always happy to talk about AAUW. They formed in 1938 in Tillamook County, and this was really breaking new ground for women to be involved in any kind of activity that was after dinner, after feeding the kids, after putting them to bed, and then they went out to sew. But they were actually having business meetings and discussing, and they've done so much good in this community. And we've had 5 members who are members for 50 plus years, and we continue with 2 who have been now, they're still over 50 years. We still have 2 of those. So thank you for coming. And AAUW is nonpartisan and non-secular, but we're very political. We care a lot, and men are welcome to join.
Thank you very much, Susan. So am I not seeing folks from the Nestucca Valley School District? Okay, so there you are. Oh, I'm sorry. I asked folks to put the school district after their name. My apologies. Thank you. You did, Irene. I just didn't catch it. All right. I've asked you to unmute.
Hello.
Is that everybody from the Nestucca Valley School District?
Seth Belsey also is on.
Yeah, there you are. Okay. Thank you, Seth. Thank you. There you go, Seth.
And Jason Hagan.
Yep, I'm trying to unmute him. Is it asking you to unmute, Jason?
There we go.
There you go. There you go.
I was trying to rename my add to my name for you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to start with you guys. Let me just make sure our screen looks good here. Okay. All right. And then I have Kenny, iPhone Kenny. Kenny, can you mind, hi Kenny, do you mind just going off camera for a little bit so that we can focus on the candidates? Thank you. Okay. And then Sue and Shayna, do you mind turning off your video just so we can focus on the candidates? I think I see Shayna stepped away. And then Sue, Luce. All right, there we go. Lovely to have you all here. So we'll start with initially 2 minutes for your introduction. At the 1 minute mark, I'll say 1. Just keep going. You'll hear me. I'm just going to say one. And then at the 15-second mark, I'll say ready. And then at the 2-minute mark, I'll say thank you. Okay. But I will give you a little bit of grace. I'll say thank you. And then you wrap up because, like I said, you're going to be nervous, especially the first couple questions and the introductions. So let's start in no particular order with Jason, because you're first on my screen.
Of course.
Okay, you have 2 minutes to do your introduction.
Okay, my name is Jason Hagan. I'm a longtime resident of the Nestucca Valley School District, approximately 38 years. And I graduated from Nestucca, as well as two of my daughters attended there. And I have a son that's 11. He is not going to school there. We've had some issues with Nestucca, and I'm kind of glad at this point that he's not going to school there. I'm going for school district number 5 because I think there's a lot of concerns with student safety and academics. There's a lot of transparency issues, I feel, and there's a lot of unapproachability by the students, by the students and the parents in the community. I'm there to try to help close that gap and help find out where the financial shortcomings are of the school so that we can keep it open with so many cuts, so many losses, so many concerns. I just want to invest my time into the kids and the community and give the school back to our children and our community. That's basically in a nutshell where I'm at.
Thank you. All right. Next on my screen, we have Sherry.
Hi, I'm Sherry Hartford, and I am a longtime resident of South County. I have a vested interest in our school district. I coached and volunteered and mentored within our school district for many, many years. I'm a stay-at-home mom of 3 children, and I manage 14 rental properties within our district. I'm on the HEBO Joint Water and Sanitary Authority Board, and I am also on the School Health and Safety Committee at the Nestucca School District. I'm a advocate and a volunteer within the community. I'm committed to transparency, academic excellence, student safety. I want to see the students succeed in life, and with the recent scores, I don't see that they're getting a fair shake in the deal. They're not prepared to enter into college or trade school or life after high school. So I want to put my time and effort into ensuring that they are able to do so.
Thank you. All right. Irene.
Hi, I'm Irene Barajas, and I'm ready for position 1. I have attended Nestucca my entire scholastic career from kindergarten through graduation. A lot of people might remember me as Irene Greenfield. I currently have 6 kids in the district of my own, in addition to 10 years, almost 13 years worth actually, of children from my child care program who also attend. I have been involved in the district in various ways for most of my life. I volunteer currently with the pep band and with the orchestra the most for the musical that's happening right now. And I also, before becoming an appointed board member in November 2023, I was on both the budget committee and the health committee. I currently am the acting chairperson for Nestucca's board, and I've made a lot of effort to try to be a more responsive board member, because I know there have been concerns with, like Jason mentioned, with approachability and with getting responses. And I've made a real effort to try to do my part to change that and to encourage more interaction and more speaking up at our board meetings and such, because people deserve to know that they have been heard and deserve to know the reasons why behind our decisions. And we need to be need to be making more of an effort to do those things. And that's been a real focus of mine. I also bring to the table, along with my 10 years, 13 years of childcare experience, I've taken over 150 different classes and trainings related to early childhood education, health and safety, and business management. I have that same amount of time following state and federal regulations, as well as my time on the board. And I'm currently on the Every Child Belongs Advocacy Committee, Advisory Committee, I'm sorry, which is a group of us, mostly childcare providers and early childhood educators who are working to better things for kids with challenging behaviors and for the people who provide those supports for them. I believe that everyone's voice needs to be heard, and that it is important to make sure that we have that interaction between the community and the school district. It's a big important thing for me to get more people involved with coming to our meetings and coming to our events and our town halls and asking questions and such.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I just didn't have a graceful way to cut in because you were wrapping up on a roll, so I let you finish. Okay, that was good. All right. And then last but not least, Seth.
Hi, greetings. My name is Seth Belsey. I'm running for position number 2. I ask for your vote today. My educational background is in philosophy, religious studies, and somatic psychology, which all that really means is I can read professional and legal documents and understand them well enough to relate the contents of them to others. My work background is entrepreneurial. I've started and bought and sold businesses for the last 25 years. It takes a lot of skills to run a business. You learn a lot through fails and through successes. I know I always lean on those skills of project management, financial management, strategic planning, and active listening. And I'll use those same skill sets in my role as a board member. The success that I've had, I believe, has come because I genuinely like people and I want to see them happy and to succeed. And if I have an agenda at all, it's kind of come through, go ahead. I have 2 kids in the district, a kindergartner and a 3rd grader, and seeing the problems and the miscommunications that have come up. I've really started to ask every time somebody's coming at me and telling me a story, is that true? And I think that's a good place to start. I think we need clarity around what's happened and where we're going. And from that honest exchange, build a network that supports teachers, informs parents, and educates kids. Was that 1 or was that 2?
That was 15 seconds left.
Oh, I see. Thank you. All right. Well, I just think it's important to raise kids that have the virtues and the values that they can hold true throughout their life, of knowing how to think and knowing what is good and what is true and what is beautiful.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So next, we're going to move into the questions. You have 1 minute. Some of these are pretty complicated questions. So it's really a snapshot of what your perspective is. As I've said to some of you who've reached out, if I feel like the question just simply cannot be answered at all, I will extend it to 1.5 minutes just to give a little bit of extra time. So we do want to stay on track with the timing. So let's see if there's a better way for me to let you know that the time is getting close. Just trying to think of what I can do. Because if you're looking at me, so you should be able to see me and the other candidates, or yeah. We'll do the 10 seconds because a minute goes by fast. So this will be your 10-second mark, and you know that you need to start wrapping up your thought process, right? Is that good enough for the 4 of you? Does that help you? Okay. All right. So let's get started. Trying try to do a slightly nice question at the start just to get everybody comfortable. And so here's one for you. Why are you running for this position? You've laid it out a little bit, but maybe now is the time to get into some of the details. So since I started with Jason to begin, I'll go backwards and I'll start with Seth.
I'm already invested in the school, having a kindergartner and a third grader, and it got me thinking about the amount of time that is put forth, invested, spent, wasted, whatever, inside of those years. You know, we're doing our fun little math problems and stuff, and it's like 16,000 something hours. You know, I was figuring out with my kindergarten that they're in there. It made me think back to Malcolm Gladwell's, well, you master something at 10,000 hours. And I started thinking about what did I master? And what are they going to master? And it just, that and being part of the strategic planning that a few parents were invited to come up with the mission and vision for the bonds and grants coming up inspired me enough to get in there and try to weave a little bit of classical value, a little bit of historical virtue, and something that I in the small community hopefully will be proud of with my kids participating when they're adults.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. See, a minute feels both long and short, doesn't it? Irene.
Like Seth said, I'm also a parent. I have my 6 kids in the district, and along with my dozens of childcare kids that are in the school too. It's important to me that everyone is considered and everyone's voice is heard. And I feel like the skills that I have and the personality that I have a lot to bring to the table with that. I'm very hardworking. I'm very dedicated. I'm open-minded. I do like to hear everybody's side and take that into consideration. And I like to have a back and forth between myself and other people, or between myself as a board member and the community. I feel it is important that we do things to improve, the accessibility to our information, such as making sure our Spanish families can be more involved. But most of all, I just want to make sure that our school is a safe and welcome place for everybody.
Great. Thank you. Sherry.
I'm running for position 1 for many reasons, and my top 3 are the academics, student safety, and fiscal responsibility. Currently, our state scores are at 25% for language arts and 13% for math, and to me, that's unacceptable. Our students' success must come first. Our students do not feel safe while in school, between sexual allegations of teachers and how the districts have handled custody transfers. We're not creating a safe environment for students. There needs to be budget cuts within the district. That's probably standard for all districts. But there are several ways to cut the budget while focusing on student success. This district needs more staff and support staff for teachers to be able to be successful with the students. And I have ample time, resources, and energy to complete those tasks.
Great. Thank you. All right. And then Jason.
Yes, I'm pretty concerned about the fact that our parents and our community and our kids are afraid to come forward and talk, and communication is an issue, transparency is an issue, and I feel that it all boils down to student safety. Our parents and our community do not feel safe with our kids at the school. Everything's locked down like a prison. And I think that a lot of these situations that have happened at the school, I think could have been prevented or helped if a parent could walk into the school and talk to the teachers and talk to the kids, or walk them to class and be more interactive. That has completely been lost over the years. There's been a complete and total breakdown with the administration and the teachers and the parents and the rest of the community. And quite honestly, it's going to take a lot, almost a total rebuild, in order to repair that, so that we can all work together, which is what we need.
Great. That actually leads into the next question, which is, This is for everybody. Well, they'll all be for everybody. So safety's come up in everybody's comments here. What is the biggest safety concern you have regarding the schools? Do you have specific examples so people can understand where these comments are generating from? So I'll start with Irene.
I believe myself personally, I feel like the biggest safety concerns are wrapped around protecting our marginalized and minority communities inside of the school district. I know that there's a lot of discourse at a federal level, and it trickles down through everyone. And as a result, a lot of the minority students and a lot of the marginalized students are the recipients of bullying in school. And that in turn, when someone is being picked on constantly, when they're having issues at school all of the time, they don't want to come to school because they're being bullied. It just creates a huge negative environment. And I believe as a board, we recognize the challenges behind that. I think that we can do a lot more for it. We did recently hire a new counselor. We also have a home health person that's going to be going out and about into the community this next year to help kind of bridge those gaps and help keep our kids safe in all the ways.
Great. Thank you. Sherry.
So for me, within the past several years, there have been 3 people employed by the district or volunteered within the district who have been had sexual charges brought against them. And parents are fearful because it's not let out into the public. Student safety, that the students who bring up concerns to administrators or staff are often overlooked, overshadowed. And from what I have spoken to with parents, they feel the same way, that they just worry about their kids going to school instead of, worrying that they're getting educated. And so there's a decrease in student attendance because parents are scared.
Great, thank you. I might have a smoke alarm that's getting ready to have its battery. So we'll see. Jason.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay. I've actually discussed a lot of these things with Sherry, and I think that the students are nervous about wanting to report things because it's being ignored, or they're told that it's just simply not true, or they're lying. There's been one that's been expelled after stating that there's been some uncomfortable sexual advances from one person that works in the school. There's been 5 girls that have reported improper handling, ogling, and conversation with them from a teacher, from the same teacher, and they were told it's a lie. I just feel really, I think our safety right now is from the schools and the schools policies with the parents and their ability to go in there and make sure things are okay with their kids. I think that's where the big fear is.
Thank you. And Seth.
Having worked as a somatic therapist for a lot of years, I know that sexual abuse is rampant. It happens to a humongous, horrendous percentage of people, and I think we should just assume that it's around, and that we need to focus on what happens in those moments, like those girls come forward. What happens when the teachers, is reported now? What is the standard operating procedure? What is the policy in place? Who takes over? What happens? That's what I think really where we really need to start right now. We're not going to be able to stop. I mean, hopefully we can stop a person that's in a classroom doing these things immediately, but we're not going to be able to stop more people from coming down the pipe that do these things, because unfortunately it's embedded in the evilness of human nature. It's in the shadow. it does happen. What do we do the second we know that there's a question that way? That part needs to be transparent. That part needs to be illuminated immediately, and people need to be held accountable for
All right.
what policies are.
Thank you. Thank you. We're gonna switch gears a little bit. And we're gonna go to a question about, would you be able to separate your personal opinions, your politics from your position as a school board member who is beholden to all students, all staff, all parents, and all of the community members within that district? Do you feel that you'll be able to work alongside folks who have different opinions than you and potentially very different backgrounds? So I will start with Sherry.
Yes, absolutely. I don't believe that politics or agendas belong on a school board. You're solely there for the success of students, for fiscal responsibility and accountability. I think it comes with life that you have to learn how to work alongside and with people who have different beliefs and feelings and thoughts as you. And being respectful and kind and understanding goes a long ways. And I have the ability to bring that to the board, as well as not bringing any agendas or politics into the schools.
Thank you. Jason.
Yes, I do believe I can be pretty neutral. Those who know me know that I like to talk. I like to talk a lot. It doesn't matter who it is, what it's about, or what they believe. Everybody has something to offer, another perspective, and there really isn't room for you to have your own, to even form an opinion. If you're discussing some issues with the school or other people, sensitive issues, whether it be finances or student safety, for me, I can't really afford to really form an opinion most of the time of my own without milling it out with other people and finding out what they think, because often in my life I found myself to be wrong, and you have to be able to admit that to yourself and or other people and switch gears and take something else into consideration. And it doesn't matter who it is that has a better idea or another view. It's really good to listen and talk and trade your ideas.
Great, thank you. Seth.
I have no political allegiance. I was willing to run for the board, unlike probably most other civil positions, because it's not politically oriented. And I've actually been slightly taken back by the groups that have come in their political allegiance to kind of, find out if I'm part of them or not part of them. And I mean, it's fine. People have their ways of feeling out into the world. But as far as dealing with people and issues and the concerns that are of hand, I would not pull from any kind of a political basis to make any decision or to promote any view.
Great, thank you. Irene.
I feel like there's a lot, especially recently, where the political side of stuff has gotten too much into things where it doesn't belong. Like everyone else has mentioned, the school board's supposed to be a nonpartisan position. It's not supposed to be a political thing. We are here for the students, we are here for the teachers and the community members. I have a lot of experience working with people of all sorts of different backgrounds and beliefs, and I love people. I've always been a people person my whole life. I like to get to know people and hear their opinions and, come to some sort of understanding and talking things out. And whether or not we align doesn't matter in the big picture when it comes to the kids. Like, we're trying to find that happy medium where we can make sure that all of the kids are being taken care of properly, and that everyone is going to be able to be safe and heard and supported at school.
Great. I just want to commend you all, by the way. You guys have been doing great on your time management and still getting really good answers out to folks. Okay, next, okay. So as part of your research in making the decision to run for the school board, how many board meetings have you attended during the past 6 months? How did you contribute to the current board's work through comments you brought up or other activities perhaps you volunteered for? How have you been able to engage with the school board during this period of time where you're trying to determine whether or not you should run for office? Good, we start with Shirt. We're back to the beginning. Jason.
I missed the last couple. I do work and I have visitation with my son, so I did miss the last couple. I didn't think that it would be too bad if I can, talk to the others and find out what's going on. For the last couple of years, I made it to the majority of them, and to be honest with you, I've spoken at a couple of them with not much of a response. Most of the other people that go in there pretty much ignored and not answered, not responded to and whatnot. So that's a tough question for me because I've gone to them, but there hasn't been much interaction with the speakers. Is they're standing there facing the board. So it's the speaker against the board. And I've actually seen people be abused verbally. So I'm hoping that if I get elected on there, that's going to change.
Thank you.
Immediately.
Thank you. Seth.
I've only attended the most contentious board meetings over the last few years. It's funny when like the buzz or something's happening in the school and and you go to the board meeting and you expect, oh, they're going to speak on this. Well, maybe the agenda is set from the week or I don't know how long before, but it's set prior to what's happening in the moment, and you have to submit your comments, and some people can get a comment to submit to what's actually happening in the moment. But I too have been surprised by speakers coming forth and offering what is of concern and it being absorbed into the board and then the board standing up and going into executive session and then coming back and not speaking to what the comments were. And I really can't wait to dive into how the structure goes and if that's exactly how it's fixed or can that change that way. It doesn't seem right. I agree with Jason that way. And, maybe it has to be on to the next board meeting to address what comes before. There's some structure that way, but yes, that's been my experience.
Thank you. Green.
As a current board member, I feel like I've got a little bit of a leg up as far as participation in the meetings, but that would be expected as a board member to be there for everything. I haven't missed a meeting since I started my appointment to the board a year and a half ago. I hear what everyone else says about the lack of response from the board. And like I've mentioned before, that is something that I've been talking to the other board members about and trying to improve upon. There are a lot of challenges behind that. And one of the things that I want to work on is better educating the public on what our rules are and what we are bound by and what we can and cannot do, can and cannot say, can and cannot speak to as board members on the spot. It's also been suggested that we communicate, how many questions we are getting, because we are told by individuals that they hear complaints, but they don't make them to us as the board. And so that's kind of frustrating. And I would like to make changes on that so that we can have more participation.
Thank you. Sherry.
I ran for the election 2 years ago. I have rarely missed a meeting. And then I applied to be appointed onto the board twice when there were 2 openings. I'm very vested in the board meetings. I go through the agendas and the meeting minutes. I made comments here and there, but they fall on deaf ears. You rarely get a reply back. It's, and I was one that was berated at a board meeting by a board member last year. And that happens to a lot of community members, and they don't feel welcome to board meetings. They don't feel welcome or heard when they speak their concerns. So that has got to change. As a board member, you can speak back. You don't have to, but you can engage in dialogue back and forth, and that really needs to happen.
Great, thank you. Next, we're a little bit all over the board here, but we're trying to give folks a flavor for what you think and how you process. So what's your understanding of education funding? So how the school districts are funded and what opportunities there might be to increase funding. So going around here, we'll start with Seth.
So yeah, I'm just getting up to speed with how funding works in the school. Obviously, there's federal dollars and there's state dollars, depending on what happens with DEI. Obviously, one or the other it might have some restrictions now, some cutbacks based off of what the state does to the Fed or what individual districts do to the state. We have been fortunate to have a bond we have a new K-8 at the Nestucca School District, and our superintendent has done a good job getting in grant and bond dollars on top of our budgets. So, I mean, I think I've seen the budgets, I've seen the dollars that come in through the allocated amounts. I know that we're one of 4 districts that are outside of the timber monies for Oregon, and those are getting less and less. We're up against, 3 different possible areas of cutback in our school district, and we're going to have to figure out how to fill those gaps.
Thank you. Green.
There's a lot of different ways that funds come into the school district. They come in through the state, they come in through the federal government. Sometimes the federal government monies come in to the state, and then the state disperses it to the schools. Nestucca is, like Seth mentioned, one of a very small number of unique districts where we do get timber revenue to support our students instead of getting state funds, because historically speaking, that has done better for us than receiving state funds would. That's something that might change in the near future with how things have been changing economically. We also get money through an excise tax, which is a tax placed on new builds in the county. That money, though, is used for very specific reasons. It's not just a general fund thing that can be spent in any way. We've had bonds. We can apply for grants, which we are very successful at getting the vast majority of the time, because we are fortunate enough to have a couple of really great grant writers involved as staff and admin.
Great, thank you. Sherry.
Yeah, mirroring what they said, there's several different avenues that money comes into the school. You have federal, state, new builds, bonds, so people's taxes, timber revenue, and yearly those change depending on laws come through. What I'm seeing at the district is gross overspending versus staying within our means, and adding another bond to the mix would overtax our senior citizens that are on a fixed income. So getting into the budget and looking things over and making cuts where appropriate would effectively help the district maintain its budget.
Thank you. Jason.
Just like everybody says, there's a lot of money coming in from state, federal, timber dollars. It all changes. We have had Misty that has been good at getting bonds and putting up for grants. She's pretty good at that. But I'm seeing that we have a school with all the bells and whistles. It's a big school. Almost everything's new. There are some things that need to be changed. I think that we need to back off on the spending of new construction and see if we can put some money back into our teachers. I mean, we're going to be losing some teachers, and it's where we need 10% more teachers and assistants than we have. We're losing probably more than that. I think that we just need to rewrite the way that we spend our funds, and hopefully the ones that are available to us earmarked, we can somehow find the right home for them.
Great, thank you. The next question is, what steps will you take to support proven programs such as suicide prevention that help improve mental health for both students and staff? So we'll start with you, Irene.
I believe I mentioned a little bit ago that we got a counselor this year. That counselor has been in touch with some of the folks on the local suicide prevention team, already working with them so that we can improve, students' mental health and know how to react to specific situations when things do unfortunately inevitably come up for our children. That's something that is incredibly important and is part of student safety, like their well-being. You have to be okay inside of your own self to be able to focus on what is happening around you and to be able to accept new information. So we have to get a handle on the kids' mental health in order to set them up to be able to have a better academic success. And in addition to having that counselor, there's also going to be someone who can go out into the district to people's homes to assist them in a home environment, not just at school.
Thank you. Sherry.
So for me, having a counselor available for those students is a need. But there's also a fine line between overstepping into parental rights. If you allow parents to be more involved in the school and involved with their students, and students feel safer going to school, that will effectively reduce the feelings that a lot of students are effectively having right now. Having people come in help, and assist, and volunteer, adding more people, parents, community members will help that. But I believe that for everything, parents should be notified and involved in.
Thank you. Jason?
You do have to have counselors. I'm a firm believer in that. I'm all about, I've talked to them myself. I've taken my kids to talk to counselors. I think it's a good, healthy thing to be open. But quite frankly, I got to circle back to kids need to be listened to, and they need to be taken serious. I'm going straight to Nestucca when I say there's been sexual predators in and out of there as employees, and there's been kids that have cried and went to their adults with concerns and fears, and just told that they're lying to turn around and go to class, or they've been expelled. And I think we just need to be willing to go quite a bit further, take it a lot more serious, and share that with maybe a larger group, CHS, whatever we have to talk to. I mean, don't try to keep it in the school just to keep it quiet. We need to get it open. We need to be an open book and let the kids know that they matter, not that they need to just quiet down.
Thank you. And Seth?
Well, I'd like to come out with a multi-prong approach. I'm super curious how the counselor works, what style they use and how that happens, but that's just from a therapeutic background perspective. Giving kids time for creative and reflective space, I think, is probably most important in all this. As we teach towards tests, we lose music and we lose art and we lose personal exploration. And the way that people can keep themselves safe is to have some distance between their thoughts and feelings and their actions. And if they have time to explore that and express that and experience what that's like, then they can take that into the world. And I wonder if there's a way of weaving that into current curriculum.
I just want to remind all the folks listening, we have a lot of questions, so your question may not get asked. I don't want anybody's feelings to be hurt. You can also always follow up with the candidates and ask them directly. So I can sense there's some tensions definitely running through some of the questions. I'm so sorry. I guess I should have had one forum for each school district. So we're actually coming up against our time for us to wrap up with Nestucca Valley. So we'll have one more question and then we'll move into your final thoughts. What are your top 3 priority actions, if elected, that you'll take when you join the board? And let's see, I think we start with you, Sherry.
Top priority is student safety, creating new policies, opening up the schools for parents, absolutely fiscal responsibility, taking a look at the budget, and talking to teachers and staff members and seeing how they need to be supported to be able to be successful. Those are 3 top priorities of mine that I plan to immediately get involved in.
Jason.
I'm pretty sold on the fact that we need to be more transparent and look at policies within the school board, within the school, and we need to look at the comfort and the health and, you know, emotionally and mentally of the kids, and open up the school more so that they can feel comfortable. Their parents can come and see them. They're not like in a prison. It's not COVID anymore. It's not 5 years ago. We need to open the schools up a little bit, unlock them, let people act like they're not in jail anymore. We need to just open up the whole venue to a more relaxed setting. That's all I got
Thank you.
at the moment.
Seth.
Well, I think we need to look at school testing and school funding as they're kind of tied together. I've been really surprised by the numbers, the test results numbers that people are throwing around. And I want to know that all of the teachers have the same perspective on the meaningfulness of the tests. And then it looks like it's possible that our state's going to tie testing to funding. There's a number of bills out there to do that. And, you know, that goes over to our larger budget, which is also, we've talked about the ways that it's being challenged. And then school safety too. I mean, we're all echoing the same thing. It's got to be number one. Nobody can learn if they feel unsafe. So, you know, we're going to have to deal with all 3 of those immediately.
Thank you. And Irene.
I feel like we all have really similar goals for things. You know, we do all want the kids to be safe. Some of us have different perspectives on how that works, and that's part of what I want to make sure happens is to have more education moments for the families in the community, for the whys behind the decisions that we make as a board. And, you know, so that there is more ability for communication and there is more ability for that transparency to take place, so that like we have our policies and we have everything online for everyone to look at, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can just read that and understand what it actually means. Like there's always some sort of background to it, or, you know, it's not necessarily in layman's terms all the time. But improving that communication and transparency, making sure that our kids do feel safe and that they are safe at school, you know, being able to keep people from coming in and disrupting their environment is part of the safety. And we want to get that togetherness where folks are more involved and they can come in and they can volunteer and set up meetings and go to lunch with their kids. And those are things that can happen now, but we want to make sure that people are more aware of that.
Thank you. So for folks online watching this, this is making me think a lot about how these things can run, the sheer number of questions. I'm not sure we could have gotten through them by 8 o'clock, but hopefully we grabbed enough of some different topics to allow you guys to kind of shine on what it is that's important to you and what your perspectives are. And maybe in 2 years, we'll be looking at doing individual forums for each school district if they continue to be places that people are putting their attentions in terms of contested races. So I'm going to give you 1 minute each to wrap up. This is your time to say what you haven't been able to say, or to just let folks know why you are the best person for them to vote for. So we started with Jason and went down my screen. So now we're going to go backwards, and we'll start with Seth, Irene, Sherry, and Jason. So Seth, 1 minute.
Thank you so much for having us. I have appreciated the opportunity to express my views here and see my other fellow running mates. I'm actually enlivened by the responses I've heard from everybody, and I feel like no matter who gets on there, we have a good chance of improving our district. Um, I'm running for position 2, and you should vote for me because I show up. You know, I'm here. I will answer your call. If you call me, I will talk to you. I do that in my life. I do things in the moment, you know, and that's how I've been able to run my business as well. I've been able to have success in staying in a relationship with people because I care more about them than I do about being right. And there is right and wrong, but there's also tomorrow and the next law and the next policy change and the next thing we're going to have to work out together. And you can count on me to be there tomorrow to do that with you.
Great. Thank you, Seth. Okay. Irene.
I am really excited for the opportunities to stay on the board. I've only been on for a year and a half, and the time has flown by, and a lot of that time has been spent learning how to be a board member and the ins and outs of all of it and the policy. I feel like it really, to get to know everything and to understand the rules and the laws behind it all, you have to be here for quite a while before you really kind of get it. And I really want to be able to use the skills that I have, you know, as a childcare provider, as a parent, as someone who knows the district really well, who knows the students and the staff really well, you know, have the opportunity to apply that more now that I have that skill base behind me. I want to be able to bring us all together because I know that that is a big contention issue right now where people don't feel heard, you know, they don't feel listened to. And I want to be able to provide more opportunities for us to get together and for every voice to be heard, to be taken into account for the decisions that we make, and, you know, kind of be able to explain more and educate more on what we do as board members so we can do the best we can for our students and staff.
Great. Thank you. Sherry.
So I'm running for position 1 also. I come with board experience. I come with knowledge of board laws, rules, policies. So I have the basic background of that. A vote for me is a vote for our students, our community, our staff, our support, and student safety, fiscal responsibility, putting our students first and succeeding is what I will bring. So vote for me for position 1. And also I'd like to plug in here, Irene and I are teaming up for a forum on the 10th at the high school at Nestucca at 6 o'clock. It's put on just by us candidates, so anybody is welcome to come and ask questions.
And you got all that in under 1 minute.
Whew.
Okay, and then last but not least, Jason.
Jason Hagan. I'm shooting for position number 5. And after a couple of years of studying and watching the board meetings, listening to the discussions, and studying informations, graphs, numbers, and whatnot, I feel that my plate is clear enough in my life. I just work. I have my son, not all the time. I do have family, relatives that have been in and out of the school district and the school. And I'm just really, really eager to get the opportunity to roll up my sleeves and focus my passion on what's needed for everybody in the community. The kids, the parents, their families as a whole, and how we can rebond all that with the school system that we have somehow lost over so many years. Try to bring some of that back, and I want to give all the energy I can and then some. And I don't generally bend or fold when I decide to focus on something like that.
All right. Thank you very much. Good luck, candidates. Very much appreciate you being here today and taking time out to talk to all of us. And again, I encourage you, if you had questions that weren't answered, to reach out to the candidates directly and be able to engage in that dialogue. So, all right, we're going to move on to the Tillamook School District. And if it's okay with you guys, those of you that were on, I'm going to mute. If you can mute yourselves and turn off your cameras. Now I'll bring on the Tillamook School District candidates. And so I see Jordan. I'm just going to go down here. I see Misty. I see Amanda, Brandon, and Natalie, and Kenny. Did I miss anybody? Kenny, hopefully it's unmuting you, Kenny.
How's that?
Yep, that's good. So is everybody here for the school board for the Tillamook district? Do I have you on camera? Okay, great. So, hello everybody. You've now got to see how this plays out. You have a tough act to follow. They were almost all relatively within their time frames. Not that I'm putting any pressure on you, but just a little bit. So if for this particular team of candidates, we've got a few more, but I'm going to try and give you about 50 minutes. This is going to run until 8:30. And we started late because of my technical difficulties. So let's get started. 2 minutes for your opening remarks. At the 1 minute mark, I'll say one. At the 10-second mark, I'll put up this card. That seems to have been a good indicator for folks, and hopefully you're looking at me when you're talking, and then do your wrap up. Okay. And then I will gently try to intercede. If you look like you're gonna just take off, I might stop you. So I'm just gonna start in the order on my screen with your opening remarks. So I have Jordan first.
Well, thanks everybody for being here on such a beautiful night. Happy May Day. So my name's Jordan Wolf. I am a fifth generation Tillamook resident. And for almost 20 years, I've been a huge advocate for youth development and volunteer mentorship in our communities. The bulk of that has come from Tillamook County Outdoor School, and I volunteered there for about 17 years. And for about 15 years of that, I've been supporting the high school counselors who all come from Tillamook, Nestucca, Mill City. I support them in being good role models for all the local sixth graders who come from like East Elementary, again, or Nestucca, and they get to live in the woods for a week. So while I'm out there, I'm teaching them about natural resources. I also get the opportunity to teach them about empathy and about how addressing others that think, look, act different than you. And that's something that I'd like all of Tillamook School District to do more of. Most recently, my experience with the school district has been as a substitute teacher. Oh, what's that, Lisa? Most recently as a substitute teacher, I subbed in every single school building in the district except Trask River. They had different requirements. And in that, I had an opportunity to talk to almost every single student in the school district right now. A ton of teachers, really impressive teachers and administrators, building relationships with them and hearing their concerns. And a big one of those is like communication. And I was the editor of the Headlight Herald for about 3 years. I have a huge background with investigative journalism, asking tough questions, asking dumb questions. And that's something that I'd like to bring. Something that I've heard from educators is teacher retention is something that's really big in this community. We've lost about a quarter of our teachers in the past 3 years for Tillamook School District, and that's something that I'd like to work on. I also would like to work on increasing access to services. We have a ton of opportunities in this community for our kids that we need to reconnect, and also increasing student well-being. So thank you so much. My name is Jordan Wolf, and I'm excited to have your vote.
Great, thank you. Next we have Misty.
Hi, Misty Burris, and I'm running for position 1. I was born and raised here in Tillamook, and I have lived here my entire life, almost 48 years now. I've been married 25 years to my wonderful husband, Aaron. We have 2 beautiful daughters who attend the Tillamook School District. My oldest daughter, Kira, 17. She's a junior at Tillamook High School. And my youngest daughter, Caitlin, is 8 years old and a second grader in South Prairie. I currently work for, excuse me, sorry. I currently work for Northwest Regional Education Service District, where I am the admin assistant for the Early Intervention and Early Childhood Special Education Program. I've been doing that for almost 8 years now, and I feel like I have gained a bunch of skills and knowledge working there that I would love to share as a member of the school board, and hopefully reconnect families to sorry, that is disruptive. Um, to open up that communication so that we can get a better uh, relationship going with that.
Thank you. Thank you. I myself got a little discombobulated there.
My daughter walked in at the same time, so it was kind of like,
Okay, let's see here. All my timers went crazy. Everything's nuts. Okay. No, we'll go to Amanda.
Hello, my name is Amanda Ferret, and I am running to turn my February appointment to the TSD9 board, position 1, into an elected position this May. And while I have not lived in Tillamook long, I did grow up in an even smaller ranching and farming community in Montana that shares many of the same values as Tillamook. We just had Wilcoxon ice cream instead of Tillamook ice cream. So I have been a very engaged member of this community for the last 3 years. I am the lead of the Tillamook County Suicide Prevention Coalition, and I've also volunteered with Tillamook County Wellness, and I was nominated for Citizen of the Year this year. So I am a proud Montana State University Bobcat. I have a degree in family science, and that has allowed me to hold a variety of professional jobs, from being a preschool teacher and live-in nanny to doing emergency psychiatric patient support. My favorite job out of all of those, though, was doing 4 years in a middle school doing school-based community or school-based mental health. And during that time, I went above and beyond my position to be involved in all that I could be involved in so I could learn all the inner workings of being in a public school. This included being the Leo Club advisor for 3 of those years. And I built lots of long-lasting relationships with everybody in the building, including the students. My time on the board thus far has been focused on learning as much as possible so I can be an outstanding board member that continues to contribute to my district. And I've already seen that impact. When elected, I plan to continue to work towards accessible and equitable education for all, build safer schools that are welcoming and inclusive, that proactively address issues that contribute to bullying, discrimination, or hate, and to strengthen the trust in the district through timely, transparent communication that follows proper channels of dissemination. My name is Amanda Ferret. I'm running for TSD position 1, and I look forward to having your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Natalie.
Hi, everybody. I am Natalie Rieger. I was born and raised here in Tillamook, and I went through all of the Tillamook schools, East, Tillamook Junior High, and the high school, graduating in 1997. I went on to Portland State University and graduated in 2001 with a degree in human resources management. I came right back to Tillamook and worked for the county for a stint, and then started a business with my mom. Also got married, had kids, started a business with my husband. Most recently, I have been a store manager at Roby's Furniture and a furniture buyer for all of the Roby's stores. I've been on multiple boards in this community over the past 15 years. I am very familiar with board processes and was on the chamber board and was a chairman there, and the YMCA board, the Tillamook County Farmers Co-op board, the Junior Livestock Auction Committee, and I was a 4-H leader for 9 years. So I'm just really invested in our community. I volunteered in the schools all throughout the time that my kids were in schools. I now have a one that's out, one that's a senior, one that's a freshman. They don't really want me volunteering in the classrooms anymore. And so I just thought that this was a good time to, put my efforts somewhere else. So I think that my experience in business, my experience in the community, I'm comfortable managing groups of people, working in teams, but most importantly, my experience as a mom just lends itself to this position really well. And I'm excited to get your vote. Thanks.
Thank you. And then Brandon.
Hi, I'm Brandon Athalter, and I'm running for Tillamook School Board position number 2. I was also born and raised here in Tillamook. I graduated in '97, same as Natalie, actually. And I have 3 sons that have gone through all the schools here as well. My oldest is in college, and I have 2 that are at the high school now. My middle son, Cole, is the salutatorian of this year's senior class. And so I've spent most of my adult life volunteering with the youth of the community through outdoor school and also through the local soccer club. I ran it for about 7 years. As my kids got into soccer, that kind of made me get into soccer. So I ran that for a while. I worked for the school district for 5 years at Wilson School and at the junior high school. And before that, I spent 20 years working at the cheese factory. A lot of that is a Teamster. I was very involved with contract negotiations for that entire time at the cheese factory, and both on the union side and as a non-union manager. I was the safety manager there for 5 years, and so I experienced that from the non-union side as well. So a lot of experience with negotiations, policy writing, policy interpretation. So my job now, I work at the community college as a safety coordinator. So same kind of thing, lots of policy writing and managing like that. I think that my experience with union contracts and collective bargaining and policies will bring a unique experience or a unique perspective to the school board, as well as my perspective from being inside the classrooms. So, yeah, vote for me. We'll do some good stuff.
Great. So we'll move into the questions, 1 minute per question. I will hold the card up. I will no longer speak. I will hold the card up at the 10-second mark. So wrap up. The first question, I'm going to try and change up the questions a little bit as well. The first question is, what are your top 3 priorities that you will focus on if elected to your positions? And I will, let me see here. How am I going to do this right now? So I started with Jordan. So we'll start with Brandon. And one more time. What are your top 3 priorities that you'll focus on if elected into this position?
Did you say with me? Sorry,
I did.
I was looking for Kenny. Did he leave?
Oh, Kenny. Kenny's so quiet. He's never quiet either. Oh, sorry, Kenny. Kenny, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Kenny. Sorry, I didn't
know
mean
why
to do that. Thank you. Your people are watching out for you.
Thanks,
All
Brandon.
Okay, Kenny. 2 minutes, please, on your introductions, okay?
All right. Kenny Ullman here, native of Tillamook. I was born here, grew up down south on Old Mill Road before it had a name. I started my career with the Tillamook School District when I was about 5 years old, because my mom was a school bus driver. So I got to get up and ride the bus with her every day. So, and then went through South Prairie Schools. Actually got to go there the first year that I was new, which was cool. And then junior high, high school. Then graduated in '93 as part of the '93 state wrestling team that won state. pretty awesome. Started a family. I've got 5 kids. 2 of them have graduated. Now I have 3 in school, a 5th grader, a 7th and 8th grader. So next year I'll have a kid in elementary school, junior high, and the high school. So there's that. Then I have family that work in the district. My mom's the oldest school district employee. My wife works at one of the schools, working with kids, and my sister's a nurse for the school district. So very invested in the school district. I help coach baseball, football, basketball, and wrestling. Um, as far as qualifications that will help me with this, in my current job, I manage a $4 million budget. I work with the public daily on very difficult decisions and I help them work through their problems. And it's a little bit. Let's see. I've been an
You're at the
outdoor school
2-minute mark,
counselor.
Kenny. Kenny, you're at the
Okay,
2-minute plus mark.
it goes quick, doesn't it?
Yes.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yep. Can you see me, Kenny, or do you need a verbal prompt?
I was looking at the ground. I was concentrating.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm at a baseball game right now, so I'm trying to multitask.
Okay. Okay. Well, all right. So now we'll get started. So actually, Kenny, I'm going to start with you because I'm going to go backwards. What are your top 3 priority areas that you'll focus on if elected to the school board?
First, I want board transparency. The board needs to be able to communicate with the people they're representing, the staff, the students, the parents, the grandparents, and just the general public that come to them and ask questions. What's going on? It's this whole community is involved. It's not just parents and teachers. People are paying on the bond. They have a right to speak their piece and be heard. Second is students and staff first. We need to make sure that they're heard, they're listened to, they're taken care of, that we show that they're valued, they're represented, and they're heard. And then third, I would like to push for curriculum transparency as well. So if parents want to know what their kids are getting taught, it's right there in front of them.
Thank you. Brandon.
Yeah, so actually, agree with Kenny on the transparency part. That's been a big issue as I've talked to staff in the different buildings around the district, getting ready for this and trying to gather as much information as I can. Everybody on their end seems to be pretty frustrated with decisions being made without their, input or feeling like they're being heard or that their buildings are being looked at before the decisions are being made about them. So transparency on the board is big to me, as well as just stability and productivity on the board. So less turnover, more committed people, and just the ability to get some hard work done. Also teacher retention and all the different issues that affect that, and student safety and their physical and emotional environment. Those are my 3 big things. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Natalie.
One of the main jobs of a board member is to hire, evaluate, and supervise the superintendent. And that's something that I would be really interested in diving right in and figuring out, where we're at with current evaluations and just getting engaged with the superintendent and seeing what the administrators and teachers are thinking about that relationship and what that's looking like, because that's important. Like the administrators are, supervising their teachers and staff, but the board's job is to supervise the superintendent. So that's something that I'm think is a top priority. Also, the relocation of Wilson School, I'm very interested in that and what that transition is going to look like. I have personal connections there, and I'm totally open to diving in and being a part of what that transition looks like, because I think I understand the reasons why it is being done, but I think that it's going to come with some negative effects as well. So I think that's a big deal. And then also just getting familiar with the budget and the fiscal responsibility. I think that there's some big challenges ahead, and regarding the bond, however that shakes out. So anyway, those are 3 top priorities, along with just getting engaged with teachers, staff, buildings, students right away.
You guys have 1 minute to answer your question. There's so much to say, so I'm not picking on you, Natalie. It's totally impossible sometimes.
Sorry.
That's quite all right.
In a minute. Okay. Were you waving at me? I was focused. I don't know.
I was like,
Okay. Sorry.
but I should have reiterated it was 1 minute, because you just came off of 2 minutes. So, okay. So Amanda.
So accessible and equitable education for all students, which I'm already doing in supporting the Wilson students as they move back to the THS campus. I've been part of listening sessions and am doing all I can to keep those students enrolled and supported. Safer schools through inclusive, welcoming communities that address bullying. I would like to see a civility policy and review policies in each of the buildings that are around bullying. And then strengthening trust in the district through timely and transparent communication. And I want to work with our district staff, including Superintendent Ellis, to develop communication protocols that make sure information is disseminated transparently, timely, and to who it needs to go to first. That's one of the biggest complaints I've had as I've been talking to all the different schools administrators, is that sometimes they find out when their staff is finding out, and that's not working. So those are my top 3.
Thank you. I lost my mouth there for a second. Misty.
So for me, I think rebuilding the support and respect of the employees and their families through improved communication and understanding, that would be probably one of my top priorities. We definitely need to advocate for our students' needs, make sure they're safe, heard, and getting what they need out of their teachers, their counselors, anything that they're lacking. And then financial stability. We need to make sure we're allocating our resources effectively, just to make sure that our kids are getting the best education they could possibly get.
Thank you. And Herman.
So the first one was teacher retention. I've been reading some harrowing stats about Tillamook School District versus other similar sized schools. The first is that more than 40% of our current teachers have less than 3 years of experience. And so I'm hoping to find ways to keep these teachers who are here, and so they're not leaving the profession or the district. I just was speaking with some teachers the other day, and I heard a heartbreaking news that one's leaving because he's not happy with how the district is going. So like I said, losing a quarter of our teachers, that's such a tremendous cost on the district for rehiring, onboarding these people, and it's impacting the education of our kids. I've talked to a lot of teachers who they say, it doesn't matter the passion or the joy that new teachers might have. Like if they're inexperienced, they're asking more questions or needing more support. So I'm wanting to help with that. The other one is increasing services. We have a bunch of opportunities here for kids to be involved with like local nonprofits or businesses or other academic opportunities. And then their well-being. There's a book called The Connection Cure that says your well-being drastically improves if you have movement, nature, art, service, and belonging. And I'd like to bring that into our schools.
Great. Thank you. Okay, the next question. There's just some heavy questions, so I'm sorry that we kind of go from maybe feeling light to heavy. So it's kind of the nature of some of the questions. So in this case, this question is, what steps will you take to support proven programs, such as those around suicide prevention, that help improve mental health for both students and staff. And we will start with you, Brandon.
You will.
I will.
You know, I would continue to, support the counselors. I don't know exactly what the counselor structure is in the district. Any right now, I know what it was when I was working for the district. But I would continue to work with those counselors and support them. I know that we had different counselors when I was there. We had different counselors that were at different levels that would serve different buildings. And some even had offices at separate different buildings. So we had a crisis counselor at the high school that also had an office at Wilson when I was there, and she would spend a lot of time at Wilson with those kids. And the purpose, her purpose there was kind of, she was in a different way than at the other schools. So I would really make sure that they had the support they needed to continue to serve those kids.
Good. Thank you. Natalie.
I completely agree with what Brandon says. I think it's just a really important service, and hopefully the students are feeling, supported, that they have the resources they need if there's an issue. I know that having a school resource officer there, I think that's something our school district has that not every school district has. And I just think that when kids understand what their options are for getting help, it's really important. And that goes back to the communication piece that Amanda was mentioning too. Just that needs to be communicated so everybody understands what is accessible, and I totally support that.
Thank you. Amanda.
Well, I kind of have an unfair advantage as the lead of the Tillamook County Suicide Prevention Coalition and a mental health professional. And I'm also, very aware of what our district is already doing. So for social emotional learning, we have Wayfinder that's in all of the schools. That's something they've started to implement this year, and they have an amazing plan for how to continue that forward next year. Addie's Act means that all of our staff are trained in QPR, and myself and Kimberly Emmett, who's the district crisis counselor, we just came back from the Oregon Suicide Prevention Conference from the last 3 days. So we've got some great plans to kind of continue to bolster our school and our youth. But as a QPR gatekeeper trainer, I'm often part of training the staff. We have Sources of Strength that was at Wilson. Now that they're moving to the THS campus, we are hoping to spread that to the entire high school, and Sources of Strength is a Big River model. And then I am actively working in the community health improvement plan to bring our schools into that and make sure they are key actors in that plan, so that mental health is one of those pillars that's in the school districts.
Thank you. All right, Misty.
So for me, I think we have a pretty good structure in place with our counselors. I hope that continue. I do worry as a parent that maybe there isn't parental involvement, and I would like to know if my own child is seeking counseling. So I don't know what the guidelines are for that now. Unfortunately, I just hope that you are still having parents be notified before their children are getting counseling. And that's my only big thing about it. But otherwise, I feel like it should be available to staff and students.
Great, thank you. And Jordan.
I fully support just empowering the resources we already have. The counselors that I met while I was substitute teaching were all incredible and had such a big heart for our kids, and were doing such good work anyway. Like I said in my what I would do, making sure that we're incorporating movement, nature, art, service, and belonging, I think will go a long way. The years that I've helped out with Tillamook County Outdoor School, I've interacted with a lot of high school kids who have considered suicide, and that is heartbreaking as an adult in this community. And they turn around by the end of the week because they've experienced empathy and people being kind to them, an environment that appreciates and sees them. And so some of this stuff becomes a symptom of our community. And if we can keep empowering our community to find spaces where all students can find belonging, something that sets their heart on fire, something where they're seen, I think that's really going to help in building policy around that.
Great, thank you. And Kenny, looks like you got muted again.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Well, obviously I'm not an expert in this, so I would empower our staff that does this, that works with this, our counselors, ask them what they need, and then get them the resources they need. That would be one way I would try to address this situation. Second is, get the parents involved. Ask the parents what they would like to see to address this. They know the kids better than our teachers do, better than we will, and they need to be involved. They need to be in the loop when there's issues on any of this with counseling, and that's just a couple things I would look at. But yeah, include the staff, let them make recommendations, and empower them to um, work with our children.
Thank you, Kenny. All right, the next question, let me pull things up here. Oops. The next question is, what is your experience? Let me make sure I get to the right question. What is your understanding of education funding, and what are ways you would look to diversify it? And now we will start with Natalie.
Funding comes from a lot of different sources. I've just recently been appointed to the budget committee to review and propose the final budget to the board for the 25-26 school year. So it is a pretty daunting task to look through all of that and understand where all the money comes from and where all the money goes. Right now, the school district is looking at declining enrollment, which is about a $1 million decrease in funds for this coming year. So that's a big deal. And then the ESSER funds, which were generated during COVID, was $6 million that the school received over the past 4 years, and those are now stopping. So there's just a lot of moving parts with grants and bonds and everything. It's pretty fascinating, but I'm prepared to dive in. So that's my understanding. It's complicated.
We can probably say that about a lot of things now, eh? Amanda.
Well, like Natalie said, it's a lot. This is our proposed budget packet that we are looking over before our next meeting, or our meeting next week. But like, Nestucca said, we've got several, timber, forestry, we've got state, federal dollars, we've got grants. One of the really neat things that's happening right now in the district is we are shifting some positions, not only throughout the schools, but also in the district office. And we're hoping to get Jennifer kind of freed back up so she can do more grant writing. So that's something we've been talking a lot about, is how can we bring more revenue in through grants and community partnerships and getting creative and having other avenues for revenue to come in, since we are losing those funds that we had through COVID. Our enrollment numbers are low. So again, it's going to just take getting creative and utilizing whatever resources that we can find as a district.
Okay, Misty.
Sorry, it's very distracting.
Yes,
It's all right. So basically my knowledge of the funding is what I've just heard from Natalie and Amanda. I mean, obviously I already knew that there's federal, state grants, and I do know that they are working to get more grant writing going. So I'm hopeful for that. Also hopeful for that school bond to bring in some funds, because I know where I work, we've suffered a great loss of employment, and it's taking away from my own job. I'm having to help fill in those gaps, and I am not a teacher or an instructional assistant, and it's been very taxing and watching what they have to do. And I'm worried that if the budget doesn't increase, that we will lose more and our program will really suffer.
Thank you. Jordan.
I know this does feel like cheating because everyone else says really great answers. You're like, yeah, ditto. So yeah, of course, we know that we have multiple revenue streams. 10% of our budget comes from the federal government. Over half comes from the state of Oregon, and then local stuff kind of makes up for it. Responses I have is definitely to the declining enrollment that we're facing right now, I mean, some of it is like parents have lost so much trust in Tillamook School District, they're pulling their kids out. And so that is, again, it's a symptom. We need to do something to encourage the parents of this community that we're keeping their kids safe, we're giving them a quality education, and get those kids to come back. That's going to give us more money in our budget, but also relying community partnerships. But that could just be like volunteering. That could finding people who are retirees maybe who could come in and do some stuff. I've talked to a lot of teachers that would love to have more TAs from the junior high or the high school or TBCC to come in. There's creative ways to address funding challenges that isn't necessarily more income, and I'm excited to address that. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna unmute Kenny. Kenny?
All right. So funding usually has four basic aspects, right? Personnel, O&M, capital, and debt service. So, you know, I'm not on the budget committee, but I would take a look at those and see if there's places where we could recommend cuts or shuffling, you know, the shell game a little bit on some of this stuff. Yeah, we have lost students to homeschooling because they parents have lost trust. A lot of parents have lost trust in our district, and we need to get that back. I'm not saying that homeschooling is not a good thing either. I think it is. So good for those parents willing to do that. That's where I'm at on it. Is there's oh, I'm on the time limit. So
You can wrap it up.
anyways, yeah. The budget, it's always difficult. There's never enough, but we got to manage it the best we can. So
Thank you, Kenny.
Yep.
Okay, Brandon.
Yeah. So as you know, as I agree with everything everybody else has said. You know, like Jordan said, I understand it to be about 10% federal, you know, so much state has the big chunk. And I don't know how you create more funding. But I think that the head count going down, you know, student body going down, like Jordan said, is really important to keep an eye on. And you know, as we lose, and I agree, I think it's because of people are losing trust in the district and pulling their kids, and so we need to address that and fix it. I also think that the changes of Wilson's program are going to result in some lower head counts, I would imagine, from my experience there. And so finding a way to maintain that program the best we can and keep those numbers up, I think will be crucial in some of that funding.
Great. Thank you.
Colt.
Oh,
Come on, Colt.
It's our lives, right?
okie dokie. So, we'll start with you, Amanda. And the question is, I'm sorry, I got a little distracted there. Would you be able to separate your personal and political beliefs from your position as a school board member that is beholden to the students, the staff, the community around the school district? And do you believe you'll be able to work with others with differing opinions?
So while it's important to have strong personal values and convictions, it's also important to have the ability to know when they lead to bias or, you know, getting stuck in your ways and, you know, kind of developing an agenda. And I'm somebody with strong values and convictions, but I also have the experience of being able to be diplomatic, work with people from various backgrounds, take various viewpoints into consideration, and make decisions that are at the benefit of whatever group I'm working with. And in this instant, you know, the focus of all of those decision making would be our students. And after that, our teachers, staff, and administrators, and then our, you know, our families and our constituents. But I am student focused, and that is the only agenda I have is the wellness and well-being and, you know, preparing our students for the best future that they can have.
Okay, thank you. Misty.
Well, it's something I do in my job already. I'm used to always being kind of in the middle of the road and, you know, you have to take into consideration everybody's views and you have to work together as a team. Unfortunately, not everybody sees that way, but I find where I work that when you do listen to everybody and you get a little bit from all sides, that you get more accomplished. And so I've always felt like I'm really good at staying right in the middle of the road and getting a little bit from everybody and staying very neutral.
Great. Jordan.
There's so much more that connects us than separates us, and I think if we remember that in this like crazy fractured time, that how much we have in common, that really helps. I love that this position is nonpartisan. I have worked many times, frequently, through all my volunteering efforts with like outdoor school, the Oregon Association of Student Councils, where I'm working with people across the state of Oregon, across the county, who have very different opinions than me, but we all work together to make sure that we're making it the best experience possible for the kids, and when outdoor school's around, for making sure it's the best for the educators as well. I love being challenged. When I was at the Headlight Herald, sometimes I would have to, I was always an unbiased reporter, and sometimes that comes with like covering things that are inconvenient for my personal biases, but I have to make sure that I am making sure being as objective as possible. So it's easy. I like doing it.
Kenny, let me unmute you.
Yeah, this is there should be no politics in the schools in this position. And I have to deal with all different citizens in our community on a daily, weekly basis on very difficult decisions. And I have no problem doing that. It's, you got to take everybody's opinion has value, and you should take that and use it and work together. The reason we're doing this is to have a positive environment in our schools, and pushing an agenda, a personal agenda, is never going to do that. So, you got to be able to work with parents, teachers, staff, everyone, and come to a middle ground. And there will be times where, people aren't going to be happy with the decision you make because it doesn't go their way, but you have to go the middle of the road. And I could do that. So that's
Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you.
Brandon.
Yeah, I think it's really important to be able to do that, and I'm sure it's something we've all had to think about as we prepare for, running for these positions. Like, what are the different outcomes and of serving, and what are the different personality differences and ways of thinking differences, but it takes everybody and all the different perspectives to make it all work on the board. And that's kind of the point of having a board, right? If we were all exactly the same, the community wouldn't feel like they were being represented. So I think it's really important to be able to have your own strong feelings about something, but still listen to somebody else. I have all boys. So somebody like Misty, who has girls, might have a real different thought about a situation that's happening in a locker room, or than I would, for example. So I think it's important that I would be able to stop and step back and listen to somebody with some different perspective.
Thank you. Natalie.
I don't come to the table with any sort of political agenda or endorsements or anything like that. Nobody's, given me money or endorsed me, and I am who I am. So I come to this with a pretty broad history in professionalism, confidentiality, starting out with an HR degree and just working in sensitive situations that I've worked in. People know if I'm not supposed to say anything, I won't. And I just really pride myself on that. I think it means a lot. And I think that I just have integrity when it comes down to that. So enjoy working on a team and being part of a board. I always am willing to listen to all sides, but then I'm also really confident when I've made a decision or have a feeling, I'm willing to stick with that, even when it's not popular.
Great. And that kind of leads actually into the last question, which is you are going to yourself making tough decisions that sometimes are not very popular. Decisions around legal issues, funding, curriculum, general policies. Can you tell us if you've had experience in that kind of situation and how you handle the pressure? So we will start with Misty.
Well, I can honestly say I've never had any experience in that situation. It's not something that I've ever been put into, but I am certainly up to the challenge. We've gone through a lot of changes at my work currently, and faced with tasks I've never done, and you just rise to it and learn from it, and that's basically what I'd have to do. In a challenging situation, I would, you know, go to the experts who've maybe been through it, look for advice, and hopefully we can come to a good solution to whatever the problem is.
Okay, thank you. Jordan.
Like Missy, I too have never had the honor of serving on a board yet. But I've had many opportunities professionally in my life where I've had to, like with the newspaper, like reporting on something and keeping confidentiality and knowing that you were working towards something that was difficult, that had a lot of different stakeholders that would impact several different people, like in this community, people that I knew, and making sure to honor those people and making sure that anything that would come out was fair and equitable. And so that was something that I became very good at very quickly. I'm not concerned with asking for help, with relying on my board members and a team. But also, I always rise to any challenge that I'm ever put in. I'm a quick learner. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you. Next, we have Kenny.
So difficult challenges. Yeah, I've had to do this on a regular basis, telling people that they got to fix stuff that is going to cost them $10,000 to $20,000, and they haven't planned for it. And you have to work with them and let them vent and express their feelings and tell you that you're a no good person, and just let them talk to you. And then you talk to him and you explain the situation and you explain how you made the decision. And that works really well 95% of the time. There's going to be times when we're on this board where we have to make a decision that people are not going to agree with. You're going to get it right 50%, 50% of the time you probably ain't, So when I've made decisions and they've been wrong, you got to own it. You got to say, hey, I got it wrong and I'm going to do better next time. And that goes a long way to building the trust you need with the people that you're working for, basically, is them knowing that you're doing the right thing. And if you make a mistake, you'll own it. And that's very important, I believe. So,
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Kenny. Okay, Brandon.
Yeah, I've spent my fair share of time, in difficult situations like this as well. So as a safety manager, you're not always the most popular guy telling people what they want to hear. And when I was at the creamery, we actually went through a change to plant where we went from everybody not wearing safety glasses to everybody having to wear safety glasses. And that was not a popular decision that was made, and it was not a popular transition, but we made it, and it's just normal now. And lots of stuff in that world of workers' comp paperwork and dealing with employees and solving problems. A lot of it's uncomfortable. A lot of it you have to tell people things they don't want to hear, or you're not giving them the answers that they want. And that's just how things have to be done. And sometimes you can't communicate that with people as well as you wish you could, as I'm sure we've all been in those situations. So yeah, I'm confident that I could get through them, and I do have experience.
Thank you. Natalie.
Lisa, can you repeat the question? I feel like we might have got a little off track.
No, I mean, I think people are tracking. You're the position, if elected, you're gonna be making some really tough decisions and some of them unpopular. And they can be around legal questions, policy questions, curriculum, safety. And then what's your experience dealing with that type of scenario and how do you handle the pressure?
Gotcha. Okay. Yes, I've been on multiple boards and been through some situations that I'm not, at liberty to talk about right now, obviously, but I've definitely had to deal with things that were uncomfortable and not fun. So I'm used to that. And then also being a manager, managing staff, firing, investigations, that sort of thing. I have experience with that. Once again, not fun, but just part of the job and somebody has to do it. So I'm pretty experienced with that.
Thank you. Okay. And then Amanda.
I've held various leadership positions since I was actually a teenager. I've also done plenty of group projects in school, including grad school. So, I think that teaches you a lot. But I've also been on the board for the last few months and have been in work groups, executive sessions, board meetings. I've had parents and other folks showing up in my email inbox and have had to deal with quite a bit in my very short tenure on the board. And some of those things are very difficult. Also, being a current board member that's running, right? I get approached in public a lot and I've kind of been cornered here and there and been put on the spot. And again, there's certain things you can talk about, certain things you can't, because there's policies and procedure around being a board member. But those are all things that have experience navigating, and I'm learning how to navigate them now in this role as a board member. And I have confidence that that is something that I can continue to do well.
Thank you. I'm just gonna take a quick second here. We have two people on the phone and I want to see if they are one of the candidates for the next, because if not, I'm going to ask you one more question and then go into your closeouts. And I'm going to ask if the person with the phone number ending in 656, are you Jim? Okay. I'm going to take a leap here and assume that's not Jim. So I'm going to ask you guys one more question. That gives us a little bit more time. Ask you one more question, and then we'll move into the into your summation. So let's see here. What is a good last question that we can do that will give folks an idea of where you stand in the world of schools? Talked about your priorities. Let's see here. We've got a lot, so many questions. Sorry again to everybody that we couldn't get through all of these. Well, I'm gonna go tough question. Recently there's been an increase in what is called hate speech within our school district. Can you please describe your plans to not only address each situation, but also how to get out in front of it with preventative practices for students and staff? And let's see, I believe now we start with Jordan.
Yeah, no, the hate speech thing has been really disturbing. As a substitute teacher, being in kindergarten, pre-K, all the way up to 12th grade, some of the things that come out of kids' mouth is something that I would make me blush. It was disappointing, and I think any sort of training that we can do to help create an environment where we respect one another is something that's really important. And that's going to be making sure that we have policy in place that we have zero tolerance for hate speech or any sort of like ugly language like that. I think the school district has been a little too lenient with hate speech. You know, the whole N-word debacle with the football team, the fact that it's a student did actually use the N-word and a referee on Milwaukee's football team is egregious. And the fact that a lot of people in our community had a knee-jerk reaction of like, we wouldn't do that was very disheartening and discouraging. So absolutely having a zero tolerance policy is a good way to stop it immediately, but then also making sure that we're creating a better environment where kinder language is used to everyone.
Thank you. Kenny,
Well, it promote a kind always policy. Now, I am a very big proponent of First Amendment, so there, we need to follow what hate speech actually is, and not what uh, some people perceive it is or use it as. So there is no room for hate speech, but it has to be hate speech, and we got to do it by the book. We can't be accusing a kid of hate speech and then it's not hate speech. You could ruin a kid's life doing that. It's serious. We have to take it serious, and we need some protocols in place. If a kid's accused of this, we need to check it out and make sure we're thorough with it. Make sure that it actually happened and that somebody's feelings just weren't hurt. That's how I feel about it. It's a touchy situation, but this is America and we have free speech. And um, just because somebody says something somebody doesn't like doesn't mean it's hate speech either. So there's a fine line there, but there's no room for real hate speech. And, there's policies to put in place. There's
okay,
triggers that you could, that you work through. So that's how I feel about it.
thank you, Kenny. Brandon,
Yeah, there's no place in the district for that. I know that at my time at the junior high, I probably heard the N-word used at another student dozen times in my few years there, which is way too many. And I agree the district should have a zero tolerance policy when it comes to that. There should be, I mean, to what Kenny said, there's different things could be taken different ways, but some things can't, right? And I think what you're probably referring to is things that cannot be misstrewn to be something else. And so, yeah, I think there needs to be a no tolerance policy, and it needs to be brought to the forefront of people's attention and talked about more. Um, and a lot of stuff you just have to set the best example that you can and try to educate kids the best you can on the effects of what they are saying to other people and how that actually damages other people.
thank you. Natalie,
Yes, following up on that, I mean, I remember positive action at East School, 35 years ago, and that I don't remember it being an issue. So I don't know why it is now. But I think that there needs to be clear policies in place for what the expectations of kids are. I know this isn't a debate. There's more to the football story. I think we have to be really careful when we label kids and say, he said, she said, because you can ruin a kid's life, that things can escalate really, really quickly when someone is labeled and we start down the road of a major punishment. So I don't know what the answer is. I'm not a professional in this. And so I'm obviously open to listening to the players and finding out what are schools doing now. Also, let's not reinvent the wheel. What are other schools doing? What can we learn from what other districts are doing and have done? But yeah, this is it's not a good thing that's going on. So
thank you. Amanda,
So, first and foremost, as Chris mentioned, we have a civility policy that will be in the works at the district. Also, Senate Bill 732 demands that all schools have an equity committee in place by September of 2025. That's something that our district needs because it will help with bias reporting and support students most impacted or at risk, that hold marginalized identities that are often most targeted. We also need to continue to support our social emotional learning, which is the Wayfinder program. We need to get sources of strength up and running at our high school. So it's not just for the Wilson students, but for all of our students. And continue those other programs that will support the mental health and background, because the reality is there are things happening. Again, I can't speak to all that I know, but there are things happening that I am aware of being on the board right now. And hate speech can lead to hate crimes. I don't want that for any of our youth. I want our youth to be citizens of the world, and I want them to be well taken care of. And all that is happening increases suicide risk. And we had a youth recently this last weekend attempt. We need to take better care of our youth. We need to stop bullying. It is literally going to cost our students their lives.
Thank you. Misty.
Well, I agree with pretty much everybody on here about there should be no tolerance for it. I think just having witnessed my own child being bullied and the effects of that, it's a very scary thing. And depression and suicide is a good possibility that comes from that. And I had that own scare in my own life with my child. So I definitely feel we need to have some very strict policies in place to avoid these situations. Like it's definitely a problem. I know myself, I attend equity trainings around these very things, and there's a lot that can come from that. So maybe putting in some type of education piece for our students to help keep them from these pieces. I know I listen to some of the terms they call each other these crazy nicknames, and their language is so confusing now, like the words that they use. Sometimes I feel like maybe they're saying something where I hear it, it sounds terrible, but their meaning is different. So there's that side of it too. So there's just a lot of education, I think, that needs to come in and fix this problem. And we need to develop some better policies around it.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go into our 1 minute summation. This is where you get a chance to say the things you didn't get a chance to say, or to add to what you've already said. So we'll start from the back. And so we'll start with Kenny. You have 1 minute, Kenny, once you come on. You have 1 minute, Kenny.
Okay, Kenny Ullman here. Vote for me. I'm a common sense guy, family guy. I got family in the district. I'm invested. I'm going to bring board transparency, curriculum transparency, and family, is valued. So parents will be involved in, our staff, from the teachers to the janitor to the cook to the admin, are all valued, and they will be respected and valued in our district. They need the credit that they deserve. And I look forward to being your school board member. So thank you for your time today. And thank you, Lisa, for putting this on. It's a lot of work, I know, but anyways, vote for Kenny. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenny. I've kind of lost my train here. Brandon.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think I bring some unique perspectives to the board, with my classroom experience, with my experience with writing policy and contract negotiations, especially with the certified staff negotiations coming up this next year. I think that's going to be a big hurdle for the district to get over after these last negotiations with the classified staff. So I think with the certified staff, it's going to be real important to handle that differently and get through it better. And I think I bring a lot of experience that will help the board get through that. I think that I can help us create a stable, diverse board with different perspectives that can tackle these issues and serve our students the way they deserve.
Okay, thank you. Natalie.
As I mentioned before, being a mom to 3 kids who, no longer want to have me volunteering in their classroom. I think the time is right to step into a different role. Being the daughter of educators, I grew up with parents who were teachers, and so I had that kind of unique perspective. I knew that I didn't want to be a teacher myself, but I do enjoy the more business side of things. And just with my involvement in the community and on boards, I think I have just a really unique skill set that can lend itself to being an effective board member who can hit the ground running, who understands the rules and how it all works. So if not elected, then I'll just have a lot of spare time. So
Thank you, Natalie. Amanda.
I have the passion, professional experience, education, and dedication that TSD9 needs and deserves as it moves forward to tackle all the challenges that it's facing, as well as to advance TSD9 forward as a district. I have the experience that I've been gaining over the last few months, and I would hate to have that all thrown away because I've been learning so much and already seeing an impact on the board and the district and our, broader community throughout my short time on the board. I am running because I want to ensure that every single student, family member, teacher, staff member, and administrator is recognized as a valuable member of our district, and that they feel like their voice is heard and that they are seen and that they absolutely receive everything that they need to be successful. Thank you for having us, Lisa.
Yeah, for sure. Misty.
Well, I'm running because I feel my experience has given me the necessary tools to be successful on the board. I want to work together to find solutions to problems and keep our students, educators, parents right at the forefront of that decision making. Committed to education. I love what I do currently, and I plan to stay in education. I love this community and the students. I just want to make sure that they are getting a top quality education, and I will work diligently, tirelessly to make sure that that is a reality.
Thank you, Misty. Jordan.
Well, if we're talking about like fresh perspectives or new perspectives on the board, I would be on the school board. I would be a decade younger than anybody else on the school board. So just bringing a new generation. Something that I do is I'm just a helper with deep roots in this community. When I was a substitute, I would mortify dozens of children being like, oh, your dad and me, we're second cousins. I just watch them like shrink and be like, oh no. I'm related to so many people in this community. I know so many people in this community. I care about this community. With all the volunteer work that I do at these camps, all I do is lift people up, find ways for them to succeed. And I'm so excited to bring that to Tillamook School District, a place that raised me and my wife. And I create safe spaces, and I put people at ease. For 3 years at the newspaper, I listened to people professionally and took good notes. I've had people new to this community who don't feel welcomed, or they feel like there's like a barrier, and I want to help be a bridge to that. I want to help bring people in to help heal this like fractured community that's growing and changing. So vote for me, Jordan Wolf, jordanforschools.com. Thank you.
First off, thank you guys. You guys did great. Nobody even looked nervous. I just can't imagine that. But nobody did. I would encourage folks, if you had questions that didn't get answered, and there were a lot of questions, that I would encourage you to reach out to the candidates, including those that aren't here. Not everyone could make tonight. It's just a fact of trying to schedule a meeting with a bunch of different people and very busy people. But I still appreciate those of you that took the time to be here this evening and to talk with your communities. And you all have made me decide that in the future, we will have specific district forums so that we can really deep dive into these questions. So I again appreciate your time and good luck, candidates. And with that, we're going to move into our last race, which is with the North County Recreation District. So thank you for sticking in there.
Thank you. Lisa.
Yep. Let's see. Let's get Christy and Doug unmuted. Where did you guys go? If you could turn on your camera, that helps me a little bit, and certainly folks like to see their people. Okay, there you are, Christy. One. And where is that? Thank you, Doug. Waving helps. Waving catches attention. All right. Thank you both for being here this evening. You're our final lineup. And this is for the North County Recreation District. We don't have nearly the number of questions that the school districts kind of engendered, but we do have some. And I want to make sure that you have a chance to talk about your perspectives and what you bring to the table. So you each have 2 minutes in your opening remarks to lay the foundation for the next few minutes here. So I'm just going to follow where people are on my screen. So Doug.
Great. First, thanks, Lisa, for hosting an AAUW. I'm Doug Sparks. My entry will have a little personal work experience and why I'm here tonight. So personal, I've been a full-time North County resident for North Coast resident for 2 years and a homeowner for 8. And all that time, I've been a member of NCRD. I live here with my husband, Casey. I also have an amazing daughter and 2 toddler grandsons. I split my time between 2 volunteer efforts. I co-lead Rainy Day Village, which is a volunteer organization which provides services to our community to help age in place. And for the last year, I've been an appointed NCRD board member leading the pool oversight committee. Little on my background, my first career was an Air Force pilot, 20 years. My second career was corporate America, where until a couple years ago, I managed Nike's Beaverton campus. That included a wide range of sports and wellness facilities and services. We also had childcare, food services like restaurants, cafes, and catering, and a complex operation altogether, similar to NCRD on a much larger scale, and very high expectations for service delivery. So why I'm here tonight? I love NCRD and its mission. I'm in that facility literally every day. That's why I started attending board meetings and was appointed to the board a year ago. And I'm really excited about what we accomplished in the last year. We're nearing completion of the new aquatic center, which will double the size of our facility. We've brought in new leadership that's off to a great start. And finally, I really love the volunteer spirit of the North Coast, and I'm honored to be a part of that effort that makes our community so special. Thank you.
Thank you. And Christy.
Hello. I want to start by saying that I'm sure I'm going to miss some of the points that I need to make. I am a early morning riser. I've been going since 4 a.m. So I'm usually in prayer and meditation by now. With that, I also want to say that if you have any questions or need any further insight, my door is always open, literally. I have been a member of this community for over 20 years, and in that time, I have spent most of it volunteering in some realm or another. I am very, very passionate about health and wellness and of the individual, but also the community, because I believe a strong community is what lifts up the individual. And as a health and wellness practitioner, I am very passionate about healing and wellness and all those things. As a current board member of HUGS, I spend a lot of time in the community trying to bridge gaps between services that are not connected. I connect people to those services. And I just spend a lot of time engaging with all the different groups and resources. I work in doing community conversations where I am on the boot, on the ground with the community, asking what they need, and then I work trying to create those things. I run the monthly teen night at North Coast Pinball as part of the HUGS group. And that is my favorite place to be once a month. And I think that means I'm done.
Well, you had 10 seconds, so if you want to
Okay.
wrap it
Well,
up.
I also want to say thank you to Doug for his stepping in and filling a very needed role and his service to our community.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to move into the questions. You have 1 minute. I'll put up this little card at the 10-second mark so you know that it's time to wrap up. The first question is, what do you think is what do you think are, because I'm sure there's more than one, are the most important issues facing the NCRD? So since we started with Doug, we'll start with Christy this time.
There's a few things that I think are very important. I am very excited about the new direction, the new management, the new pool and aquatic center, and I hope to build on what NCRD already offers to become a better community hub of services for wellness. And that includes, and I'm very passionate about, our youth, our teens and our young adults, and I do want to really work hard to engage them more in the NCRD by creating more programs that are tailored to suit their needs on all levels, and all marginalized communities also.
Thank you.
Think, oh, go ahead.
Nope, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I also know that former management and past history has created a gap in the way that NCRD and the community interact, and I want to open a door so that there is more involvement in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No worries.
I'll wait till you both say done so I don't do that again. Doug.
Yeah, first, I just want to return the compliment to Christy. I think we need more people volunteering for important positions, so thank you as well. I would say my priorities are: one, finish what we started, which is we need to onboard Justin, our new executive director, successfully. He's already off to a great start. Secondly, completion of the construction and activation of the new pool. I agree with Christy on my second priority is really engagement in the community. We have a long way to go. This includes patrons, local municipalities, schools where our participation is declining, and non-patrons to broaden our reach to the entire community. And lastly, I really think we can increase transparency and accountability. The board and staff should set clear, community-supported goals, regularly report on the progress, celebrate successes, and learn from any shortcomings. That was it.
Thank you. So we heard in the last race the question around hate speech and what the schools can do with that. Well, there was another question to the NCRD candidates. That was a slightly different version of that, which is, how can NCRD create an inclusive and safe place for the youth in our communities? But I would say it applies to everybody. I don't know that it has to be specific to youth, but the question started out with youth. So Doug.
Yeah, I want to say I was recently invited to participate in a forum where we talked about our role as a sanctuary city. And it sort of hits on your point here. These are vulnerable committees, and what is our role? And I represented the board, or actually I went as an individual who is also a board member. And I really believed in everything that was presented there. And I brought that back to NCRD so they understand what our role is and what our rights are if we were visited by an ICE organization or something. So we need to protect those vulnerable communities and make them feel safe. Not only our members, but also staff. Secondly, hey, I'm a member of the LGBT community. I know how important it is to make everyone feel included. I was in the military when it was not okay to be gay in the military. So I'm deeply empathetic and I want people to feel welcome to NCRD.
Thank you. Christy.
Can you repeat the question for me? I just want to make sure that I have it right.
Sure, I kind of had to modify it when I was reading it because it was a little. So we heard the question of the school district about hate speech and its impact. But the question that was provided for NCRD was a different spin on that, is how can NCRD provide an inclusive and safe space for our youth? And I suggest that it could probably apply to everybody in the community, but the question was about youth.
Well, at monthly teen night, I would say 80% of those teens that show up are part of a marginalized or neurodivergent community. And the way that I create space for them is by just being available, by holding a presence, by being inclusive in the way that I invite everyone in and I accommodate the needs that are present for them in whatever way that is. I do think it is important to speak with the communities that do not feel heard or are marginalized. I am part of that community, so I do have some knowledge of how to do that. And in my role as a HUGS board member, that is one of the big things that I focus on, creating safe, healthy spaces for thriving.
That's great, thank you. NCRD is no stranger to controversy. How, in your experiences, how have you dealt with pressures that can be centered around controversial topics and decisions? And how do you work to ensure that the community understands the processes that created those decisions? That makes sense. Okay. Christy.
You lost me at the
Okay,
second
yep.
part.
I'll just gonna kind of break it down a little bit further. So NCRD is you're gonna, as a board member, you will, at some point in time, you're gonna have to make controversial, you're gonna have to deal with a controversial topic and make decisions that not everybody likes. So how do you handle that pressure, and how do you work to ensure that the public understands how you came to your decision? I'll paraphrase that a little.
Well, I think I would handle it the way I handle most things, with love and compassion and opening a conversation, so that all voices can be heard and recognized, and also that transparency of this is why this is happening. These are the reasons. How can we make it equitable for everyone? That's part of the conversation.
Are you good?
I think I missed some of it.
I don't think you did, but is there something you'd like to add?
Well, I think I would also like to add that as a peer support specialist and a chaplain, it is very important for me to often put my worldview aside and be open and available to listen to whatever anyone has to say. And I think that is very valuable in and of itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug.
Yeah, I would say my first week on the board, we had some pretty tough decisions. We were handed down some notifications that we violated DEQ policies on our construction project. We were short on funding by millions of dollars, and our executive director announced her retirement. In each of those cases, the way we dealt with those experiences was, one, we all rolled up our sleeves and deeply tried to understand the problem. We sought expert advice, and we went through all the potential mitigation paths we could go. We ended up choosing a plan, we tested it, we adapted it, executed it, and checked to see how we were doing. Along the way, just as Christy was saying, you have to communicate, you have to bring the community in. That's the responsibility of the board, is advocating for the community. And you have to bring in the staff. And we were transparent and honest. In each of the examples I gave, we made it through those problems. And in fact, I think we're in a much better path than when we have been in years.
So what is your understanding of the NCRD budget And how can it be diversified to become sustainable? Doug.
Yeah, I'll start with when we're talking about the budget, we're really talking about where we get our funding. And first, I recognize that the local community bears a big burden by the way of taxes, because we get revenues through our permanent levy, our 5-year operating levy, and a bond for the pool. We also have another full faith and credit loan that is paid back through timber revenues. Recognizing that burden on the community, we work really hard as a board to look for funding outside of the community to diversify our revenue stream. Great example of that was we sought for and applied for Tillamook TLT revenues to help close our pool funding gap. That put the burden on tourists who visit our community, we want to continue down that path, is to continue to look for people outside of our community to assist us with something the community really says that they need.
Great, thank you. Christy.
Doug is right in how we are funded. I've been very invested in learning about that. I have talked with Justin about this specific topic about sustaining the programs that we have and how to fill a gap if it comes up with timber, like the lack of timber revenue, or if they decide not to pass the 5-year levy. How would we do that? All our programs are great, but we can expand what we offer so that we can have more income coming in at a community level by engaging with those who are not participating with NCRD because of past experience or not having programs that are suited to them or accommodate their needs. So again, I think going to the community and asking what they need, and then looking at the budget and making sure that where we are spending our money meets those needs.
Yep. Let's see. The next question, screen keeps going down. The next question is, NCRD, of course, is about recreation, but it's also about education. Do you see opportunities to grow the educational opportunities at NCRD? Christy.
Yes, I am running for NCRD board because, like I said, they're doing a great job, but they could be better. I would like to see more community engagement with all the agencies, including our schools, including our cities, it's this time of night.
It's okay. You're talking about
train.
educational opportunities,
Yes.
and you were mentioning bringing in.
And I do
all the
think that
partners.
would also increase our revenue if we had those connections between all the different entities that are already working to making them work together would be a great way to do that. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It's night and it's late and it's nerve-wracking. So, Doug.
Yeah, in my previous life at Nike, we spent a lot of energy on a comprehensive approach to well-being. So, and we really programmed around 5 pillars. They were activity, nutrition, rest, recovery, and mindset. And several of those are not about classes where you work out or whatever. They are truly education. We brought in experts, chefs, coaching, seminars, employee alliance groups to work on anything from meditation to what's the trendiest diet or what have you. So I definitely think NCRD 1 is hitting on some of those elements, and we can go a lot further. And I completely agree with Christy. We need to leverage partnerships in the community to help to develop, to round out that those educational opportunities.
Yes.
You know what? One of my favorite parts of these is when candidates who are running against each other Agree, and are complimentary of one another. I really appreciate that you guys have been that way with each other. So those are all the questions we had for NCRD. I kept thinking some might show up in the chat. They did not. People are probably also a little bit tired, but to those of you that stuck with us, you North County diehards, thank you very much for being here. I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes if you would like to take a full 2 minutes. I know I said 1 for your closing, but because the questions were a little light and you may have some things that you had hoped would come up, I will give you 2 minutes. So did we start with you, Doug? So now we'll start with Christy to close out.
Thank you. So I just want to say I am running for our community. I'm not running against Doug. I'm running for our community and its wellness. I'm running because I was asked to do so by many who feel that they currently don't have a voice within the district or did not get to vote on this particular position. I'm running for board because it makes sense. Every single day I have my doors open. I have at least one person come in to get help. And whether that's resources for housing, mental health support, food, animal care, a hug, a cup of tea, and a healing presence, every day I see how much we need a stronger hub of community. And I believe NCRD can rise to meet that challenge. It's doing a good job. I believe it can be better. I work with our youth, our neurodivergent, our marginalized populations on a daily basis, and I have such a strong commitment to creating safe, healthy spaces for them. I see their needs are not being fully met, and I know I can help bring understanding how to better meet them where they are. The NCRD mission statement does include promoting education, recreational, social, physical well-being of the entire North County community by offering activities for all ages and abilities in an inviting environment. These ideals are in such direct alignment with my own that as a chaplain and spiritual leader, but also as an award-winning healing arts practitioner and wellness space owner, I do have a 20-year history of local community involvement and engagement, and I know the strengths and challenges of this community and its members. I do know how to connect resources to those who need them, and I have a strong network built on long-time community involvement in such a wide range of areas, and I do work so hard to get things done. I have and will continue to work tirelessly to better all the lives and create wellness for everyone that I share this district with. I believe my extensive background in wellness does give me insight and vision for future planning and expansion of what could be made available for the health of NCRD, for its patrons. And I'm excited about this new chapter with NCRD's new director, the finance manager, the new aquatic center. And I have met with several board members, staff, management, and community members who all agree that I have passion, I have vision, I can work well with them, and I believe I can help energize and move forward the momentum for the fully embodied greatness of NCRD. I do also have many endorsements, including the mayors of Wheeler and Nehalem and local business members and community. Thank you.
Thank you. And Doug, because I got a little distracted with my time, I will give you 2.5 minutes as well. Really didn't want to stop. It was a good roll.
Sorry.
Oh, no,
I'm aiming for 1 here. Again, thanks, Lisa, for hosting this. To the voters in our community, I'm asking you to consider my background, commitment to NCRD, and my board experience when you vote. In my introduction, I described my professional background of managing complex operations, very similar to NCRD. And I've demonstrated my commitment in a few ways. I've been a member for the last 8 years. I'm at the facility daily. My attendance at board meetings starting back in 2023, and my membership on the board since last April. We've made significant accomplishments in that time. We are completing construction and closing the funding gap for the new aquatic center, and we've brought in dynamic new leadership. Ultimately, my focus is on ensuring NCRD is responsive to our community and operates efficiently and delivers exceptional recreational opportunities for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both so much. It was a great way to end the forum. Thank you for everybody who stayed with us. And get out, vote. Good luck, candidates. This is your time to make a difference. They're trying to do it by running for office, and now it's up to you all to do your job by electing the best person for the job. So I look forward to seeing how these elections turn out, and I wish you both the best. And on behalf of AAUW, thank you for being here this evening, and all of you that stuck with us till 8:30, and have a good night.
Thank you, Lisa.
Bye-bye.